What is the most resilient parasite? A virus, a bacteria, or an intestinal worm? An idea, resilient, highly contagious. Once an idea is taken hold of the brain, it is almost impossible to eradicate. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks right here. That is a monologue by Leonardo DiCaprio from the movie Inception by Christopher Nolan. Inception is a movie about a dream in a dream. In its essence, it's about planting an idea into someone else's mind and it grows naturally as if it's their own. How does that have got something to do with what we are discussing, code elasticity, helping a developer to transition from just mere code to a successful tech company like Google, Facebook, and whatever? It's all about the idea. Okay, so what we are missing or what we are lacking as coders or as developers or as freelancers is the intangible value of a product. In the previous video, we've discussed product conscious code or product driven code versus a functional code. So you must treat your code as a product, just like a sneaker, just like Samsung, just like how Apple treat their own device. So with that being said, a product has got an intangible value, and as developers, as a coders, not only we don't know much about that, I think we care less about that. Remember us, we are functional driven. We want to be lost in code and we want to code, but at the same time we are surprised why we are not coming up with big ideas like functional application that people love, that has got a lot of users, like Spotify, like your YouTubes, your Twitters. We don't understand why we don't come up with those applications, and it's simple. We don't understand the intangible value of our code, which I would like us to label as a product. So a product has an intangible value. And also, this information, obviously I didn't have it until I worked as a brand strategist. If you don't know much about me, I have been window shopping careers and jobs. To be honest, I went to school to study IT, and the reason why I studied IT, I wanted to learn software development, not necessarily to get a degree or a diploma or whatever. That's why when I was done with IT, I left that diploma in school and I went ahead and created my own applications. So I didn't go to school necessarily to attain that, but I wanted to solve a problem. So after that, I went on into other industries. I worked as a graphic designer professionally, and I worked as a brand strategist. So working as a brand strategist, I've learned so much about the intangible value of a product. If I might quote Rory Sutherland, I think he's the vice president of Ogilvy, United States or UK. He says the next revolution is not the industrial revolution, but it's psychological revolution. What does he mean by that? He means that there is so much that we can do with our psychology as it relates to marketing, advertising. Okay, this globe, I think. Let me just hide it a little bit. Okay, so there is so much in of value in psychology as it relates to advertising, marketing, and branding. He continues to say that you can change the taste of a product without even touching the product, but working on the psychology. Hence, he said the next industrial revolution is not industry, it's technology, but it's psychology. It's how we perceive things. Let me just give you a simple example to clearly nail what I'm trying to say in case you haven't heard me very well. There was a company, I think somewhere in overseas, it's called Shreddies. they produce the morning cereal. So they produce some square things, a morning cereal, but it's that square shape things cereal. Okay, so now they were sitting down thinking how they are going to revamp themselves and like some sort of change their own product. Okay, so for some reason, I think they hired a marketing company to help them with that. And what that marketing company did, if it's not themselves, they came up with a different line of the morning cereal. And to my surprise, they didn't change the product. They did nothing. Remember, these are the things that as developers we know nothing about, and if I can be honest, we don't care about. Whereas these are the things that occupies the gap between the code and the tech company, the product. These are the things that we need to think around in order for us to take our code to become a successful tech company like Facebook, Google, and YouTube. So they didn't change the product, but at the same time they've changed the product. So what they said, since the cereal is square, it's square shape, they made an advert where the people who are manufacturing the product, they are in an assembly line, so they are making sure that they are doing the quality control. And the other one noticed that the product is not square but it's diamond, and the person stopped the whole production line and asked somebody about the diamond shape. And then from then they create this whole marketing campaign and advertising and branding around the new product line, which is not square but diamond. As you can see that in order for me, if we assume that this is a perfect square, in order for me to change it to a diamond, I don't really have to move my fingers. I just have to change the shape or the orientation a little bit, and then it becomes diamond. So it was a success. People and the market believed it, and it helped them on generating revenues. So as a brand strategist, I have learned so much about the intangible value of a product. When I was working in the FMCG industry, fast moving consumer goods, I realized that people manufacture product, but that's half of the product. Another half of the product, it's in the psychology, it's in the perception. So when I worked for this company, they were producing a shower cleaner. So they have launched the product. Obviously, at the moment, it didn't take off that well. It was getting there when I arrived, but it didn't have a slogan. So I kept on convincing the owner that we need to sit around and plan about the slogan of the product, because I really didn't understand how could they expect people to understand the product if it doesn't have a slogan. Because now we are talking about an intangible value. If you have a code that is working, then you need to work on creating a perceived value of the code so that people can really understand the code. And a part of it is in the functionality of the code. If you already came up with the code that does everything, that solves every problem, then that's a problem, because now we are talking about psychology, we are talking about brand recognition, we are talking about a certain position in the mind, brand positioning. So if it's going to come up as a wishy-washy, not easy to understand something, it becomes a problem. So what I did with the owner of the product, I told him that let's work on the slogan, and I coined the slogan for the product, and then I helped on trying to position the product to the relevant people. So that included checking who are the ideal users of the product, who are the people who are most likely to buy the product. And it was easy because in all the retail stores, or most of the retail stores, they have got the portal. So in the portal, that's where you go there and you query, or you get a report of your sales in the retail space. So meaning that you can be able to get into that portal and download a bit of a spreadsheet of how the sales are doing. So I had to look at those reports and I have to check which stores and which locations are they, and I have to make a research of those locations in terms of all the characteristics of the location. How many people who are there, racially, are they whites, Indians, or whatever, the age and whatever, so that I can have an idea of those areas. And then from then I had to position the brand, the product, according to the people who are most likely to buy the product. So basically, this is what I was trying to say. A product has a value because the product was not understood by the people who are buying it. First of all, it didn't have a slogan, and I really didn't understand. Hence, it was my first thing to work on it. Why must I work on a slogan? Now we are talking about psychology. So we need to come up with some sort of an image of the product that is more than the product. So let's take this, what I've told you, and relate it to code. There is more to tech business or to a successful application than just coding. There is something called an intangible value of a product. So you need to take your product, you need to create an identity for it, and you need to consider all the stages of identity development, not just one. It's just going to be a logo, that is going to be an icon of the app. There is more to identity than that. And then you need to come up with some sort of brand messaging. This app of yours need to be clearly defined, and in its naming and also in its definition, we need to get a sense of what problem is it solving. If we don't get it, then in terms of a definition, it must be clearly defined. If you want to know more about what I'm saying, just Google what is Facebook, what is Instagram, what is Snapchat, what is TikTok, and what is WhatsApp. In those descriptions, you're not going to find one description that fits all. The description might be similar, but believe me, they will be distinctly different. It will also talk about the purpose, why it exists. So in this video, I just wanted to talk about the intangible value of a product. So your code is not different from a product, and it has an intangible value. The reason why you have to learn about these things, it's because of you are a coder, you are the main guy. Obviously, at this moment, you are not a successful company. I am not a successful company. So I must create my product or my code or my application in such a way that it's easy to sell. In closing, we were proposing in another company where I was working also with the product. In another company, we went there to propose a product to a catman, a category manager. The guy looked at the product packaging and he gave us to us and said it's not gonna sell. And we were like, what do you mean? He said, no, it's not gonna sell. And that's it. Like, was that quick? He said, yes, it's not gonna sell. Go and change the packaging and add this and this and this and this. And we were like, but you didn't even taste or look at the product. He said, I don't have to. Here we are talking about the FMCG, fast moving consumer good. The app business, it's not different from that. We've got people who want to consume your product, who want to download your product as quick as possible. So if your product is not presentable, if it doesn't clearly sink into my mind, I don't understand how it is, and when I'm using, I'm struggling. Obviously, I won't pull it from the shelves. I won't go to the Play Store and download it. So the product, the application, it has an intangible value. I'm Matthew Singati, the designer and developer. Thank you so much for clicking this video. If you feel like this video is adding value to your overall understanding of software, coding, branding, marketing, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much.